Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. The number 2 man at the FBI has stepped down and may have been removed from his job, fueling speculation about an explosive congressional memo that could soon be released. Dale Hurd has the story.
FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe stepped down Monday earlier than expected, and the day after his boss, FBI Director Christopher Wray, viewed a 4-page memo suggesting serious abuse of government surveillance laws that named McCabe and others. Fox News reports McCabe was removed by Director Wray, who once threatened to resign if McCabe was ever forced out by the White House. McCabe leaves ahead of an impending Inspector General's report on the Hillary Clinton email server investigation, which McCabe led and which resulted in no charges against Clinton. The House Intelligence Committee voted Monday to release the 4-page memo that summarizes the alleged abuses of federal surveillance laws by Justice Department officials detailed in the upcoming Inspector General's report. Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, blasted the decision to release the memo.
Today, this committee voted to put the president's personal interest, perhaps their own political interest, above the national interest.
But House Republicans who have seen the memo say it should be released so people can make up their own minds.
Having read this memo, I think it would be appropriate that the public has full view of it.
Much of the media coverage has followed the Democrats' line suggesting McCabe quit because of heavy criticism from President Trump. But Republicans believe McCabe left because he knew he was going to get slammed in the Inspector General's report. The president's son, Don Jr., tweeting, "Strange timing, stepping down the day after FBI brass sees the memo. The memo will be made public as long as President Trump does not explicitly object within the next 5 days. The White House has indicated Trump might support the release of the memo, but wasn't specific how Trump would decide." Dale Hurd, CBN News.
With news of Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe's resignation and a looming budget deadline, the president will deliver his first State of the Union address and focus on the things that unite the nation. Amber Strong has a preview of the president's big speech from Washington.
Despite the noise of Washington, the ongoing Russia investigation, and a split over the issue of immigration,
I hope you enjoy it.
the president was upbeat before his first State of the Union address. According to the White House, the president will deliver a bipartisan speech and hammer down on 5 key issues: national security, trade, immigration, infrastructure, and the economy. The president is expected to emphasize the booming economy by touting low unemployment numbers and last year's tax overhaul as a boost for both businesses and individuals. It's a message he talked up last week at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.
We've cut regulations, we've passed a tax bill, the likes of which our country has never seen.
And then there's national security. On Monday, Trump met with the UN Security Council and discussed potential international threats.
Today we will discuss our cooperation on a range of security challenges, including the denuking of North Korea, very importantly.
And here at home, when it comes to infrastructure,
I think there's a growing consensus that the infrastructure needs to be fixed.
the administration is hoping the speech garners bipartisan support. The president's new plan is said to include $200 billion in federal money over the next 10 years. The White House hopes that funding will leverage another $1.5 trillion from the states for a total of $1.7 trillion. Meanwhile, the fate of millions of so-called dreamers hangs in the balance. The president says when it comes to immigration, the two parties need each other.
We hope it's going to be bipartisan because the Republicans really don't have the votes to get it done in any other way, so it has to be bipartisan, but hopefully the Democrats will join us.
His newest proposal provides a path to citizenship for 1.8 million dreamers in exchange for an end to chain migration and the visa lottery, plus $25 billion for the wall on the southern border. So far, Democrats aren't buying it.
He's using them right now, their anxiety, their fears, their upending of their lives as political pawns to get a wall that he said we shouldn't have to pay for in the first place.
Congressman Joe Kennedy III will deliver the Democratic response. He's considered a rising star in the party, and leaders like Nancy Pelosi are praising him as a champion of the working class. Now, a senior administration official tells us that the president will deliver a unifying speech, and it couldn't come at a better time. A number of congressional Democrats are planning to bring Dreamers as guests, and others say they'll skip the event altogether. Amber Strong, CBN News, the White House.
It's a campaign pledge that helped him win the White House, but with the ongoing funding fight, President Trump's pledge to build a wall is far from a reality. And now, a year into his presidency, the U.S. Border Patrol is facing a new concern. CBN's national security correspondent Eric Rosales just returned from the southern border with this story.
The battle over funding a new border wall continues on Capitol Hill, but the agency charged with building it has a crisis, a manpower crisis. The U.S. Border Patrol is losing agents faster than it can hire them.
You can clearly see where these trails are, they're not natural in this area. And you have them kind of spider webbing all over the place. And the reason for that is once these smugglers think that we have a certain area that is being monitored more, maybe have a sensor on that, they'll start deviating from that original trail.
Captain Robert Rodriguez is one of nearly 20,000 agents who make up the U.S. Border Patrol, but the agency is already some 2,000 agents short of what is congressionally mandated. And now President Trump has ordered the agency to hire 5,000 more. Welcome news for Rodriguez.
Technology is great. It's always that added situational awareness, but we're always going to need boots on the ground.
According to a recent government report, the Border Patrol lost 905 agents last year through retirement or attrition, while hiring only 523. Border Patrol top brass admits some are retiring, but many with 5 to 10 years experience are going elsewhere, seeking higher-paying federal jobs in less remote areas with better health care and more opportunities.
Recruiting and hiring agents that have a passion for the mission of border security is a challenge right now.
Rio Grande Valley Sector Chief Manuel Padilla Jr. describes the mission of the Border Patrol as truly nothing less than preserving this nation and our way of life. He says the agency is currently studying how to keep the agents they have and investing in the factors that motivate agents to stay.
We are looking at retention bonuses. Right now we're actually in a process of an operational mobility that our headquarters negotiated with the union, and that's giving agents an opportunity to move to certain locations with a bonus, and these are hard to fill locations.
The starting salary of a Border Patrol agent is $49,000. Statistics show it takes about 133 applicants and 9 months of training through the academy to put one agent in a uniform. Right now, 2/3 fail the mandatory polygraph, a rate twice as high of other law enforcement agencies.
Being a Border Patrol agent is a very demanding job. It's physically demanding, but it's an awesome job.
To meet the president's executive order, the agency will have to hire 3,000 agents annually for the next 5 years, 3 times as many as it's done in previous years. Somewhere along the U.S.-Mexico border, Eric Rosales, CBN News.
Coming up, fighting sickness. See what you can do to stay healthy this flu season. Welcome back. There are currently just 7 countries in the world that allow abortions after 5 months of pregnancy, including the United States, North Korea, and China. Pro-life lawmakers hope to take a step towards separating America from that controversial group on Monday through the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. But their efforts failed to garner the 60 votes necessary to move forward in the Senate. Pro-life advocacy groups say the majority of voters in 2018 battleground states are supportive of limiting abortions after 5 months, and they already have volunteers knocking on doors in multiple states, letting people know where their senators stand on this issue. We are in the midst of a terrible flu outbreak, on track to be the worst in nearly a decade. So far, 37 children are among those who have died from the flu. Lori Johnson tells us why it's so bad and what you can do to stay safe.
Doctors are now seeing significantly more flu patients than in years past, and the flu season is far from over. The CDC reports 12,000 hospitalizations and widespread outbreaks in every state except Hawaii.
Right now, influenza is everywhere.
These are some of the children whose lives were cut short by the flu. 6-year-old Emily Muth of Cary, North Carolina, died just 4 days after getting sick.
All of a sudden, she just raised up and went back down. And I noticed that, I'm like, Emily. And then I noticed that she wasn't breathing.
The flu can turn into deadly sepsis, pneumonia, and heart problems. Adults are 6 times more likely to have a heart attack within a week after getting the flu.
Can you open your mouth real wide, please?
This season's dominant strain, H3N2, is especially virulent.
The types of symptoms we're seeing for the flu would be a dry cough, muscle aches, fevers, chills, sometimes a headache, sore throat. Usually a quick onset of these symptoms.
Antiviral drugs can help if they're taken within 2 days of getting sick. This season's flu shot is only 30% effective at best, but doctors say it's still the best way to avoid the flu, and it's not too late to get one.
Even if you get the flu after getting the vaccine, which can happen, chances are the illness will be shorter and less severe.
Doctors recommend avoiding people with the flu because they can breathe the virus out in particles that hover in the air. Frequent hand washing, since the flu virus can live on hard surfaces up to a day. And strengthening your immune system with probiotics, adequate sleep, and stress management. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Spanish flu, which killed 50 million people worldwide, including 675,000 Americans. That was before vaccines and antivirals, but infectious disease experts say a flu pandemic similar to 1918 could happen again. Scientists are now working on a universal flu vaccine, which will protect against all strains of the virus and be given every several years or ideally just once in a lifetime. Although a universal flu vaccine is still a ways off, experts say it will be available to the public within years, not decades. But for now, doctors remain busy fighting one of the worst flu outbreaks in a long time. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Up next, the new trend in banking, and the millennials are leading the charge. Digital banking is not just for young people. See how it can benefit older adults even more when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. A fitness tracking app could pose a threat to military personnel on secret military bases. Last month, a fitness company released a global heat map that allows users to share their running routes. But top security officials are concerned it can reveal location patterns of people on secret military bases. The Department of Defense is taking action and has launched an investigation on what to do next. Well, if you want to see the future of banking and your money, it's right on your cell phone. The idea is to make it easy for you to deal with your finances from anywhere at any time. Caitlin Burke brings us that story.
The banking industry is bracing for change thanks to the all-powerful digital revolution.
The financial technology, or fintech, is really changing the way fundamentally that customers interact with their bank.
Banking expert Rob Morgan says customers expect the same type of digital access to banking as they get with other important services.
Take a second to think about it. I can get my mail on here, order dinner, even hail a cab. And now, thanks to financial technology, I can also access my money.
In terms of banks and non-banks in this space, there are a number of players. And really, banks are looking pretty actively to partner in this space. So banks are looking, and as are these new companies, to work together to deliver the customer the best experience.
Apple, Google, Amazon, the tech giants are all on board. Most are starting off with digital payment apps.
They believe that this modernization of the banking sector is going to make financial services more accessible, more affordable, and ultimately more secure.
Brian Peters is with Financial Innovation Now, an organization that represents Apple, Amazon, Google, Intuit, and PayPal.
I think whenever you have a little bit of competition and a little bit of change, it's tough. People need a little bit of time to accommodate. But This change is coming. It's coming quickly. It's here now. And we're here to help policymakers understand why this is good for consumers.
While they may be a little late to the party, major banks have entered this new reality.
You see banks all across the spectrum investing in things like innovation labs, where they're delivering these new products directly to customers.
While banks are competing in this space, they face an uphill battle. According to the Harris research firm, 77% of consumers have a positive impression of the tech industry, compared to 35% who feel good about the financial industry.
We see a lot of partnerships. So it could be characterized as a big battle between Wall Street and Silicon Valley. But at the end of the day, we actually see a lot more nuance. There will be some skirmishes, and we're going to have a great, robust discussion about how to enable this technological future. But we're excited about it.
Those skirmishes seem to be taking the shape of regulations. The tech industry wants breathing room for young startups, while the banking industry believes its new competitors should follow the same rules that it does.
Today, there are a lot of rules and regulations in place that provide protections for consumers. And you need to make sure that those protections are being applied equally across the board.
We're hopeful that policymakers can find ways to minimize some of the early regulatory impact that they may face so that they can at least get off the ground, prove their business model, and actually bring something to market.
Security is a major concern of consumers when it comes to these new digital financial services. But Peter says your cell phone will eventually provide better protection of your information than a debit or credit card.
When you think about making a payment or storing financial information on your smartphone, that smartphone is encrypted in a variety of ways. To gain access to it on the later models now, you have to use biometric fingerprint authentication. Because of all that additional security, you have now both greater convenience and greater security. That didn't exist before.
Some of the most popular new services include Venmo, Google Wallet, and Apple Pay. They allow you to transfer money and buy products without ever stepping into a bank or pulling out your credit card. This especially appeals to the millennial generation. According to Viacom Media, 73% of millennials prefer using digital services than going to a bank.
I think you can use your smartphone for everything. I use my Venmo app, I use my Bank of America app, just everything can be done on my phone, which is great.
My bank doesn't have any physical locations. I really do all of mine on my phone.
But it's not millennials who stand to gain the most from this technology.
There is a proportionally bigger opportunity to help older generations. Because if you can't get around very easily, if you're in a small town where the bank branch is far away, managing your finances can be tough.
I recently got my grandfather hooked on taking care of some of his finances digitally. Hi, Poppy.
Hey, babe.
A few visits ago, I set you up with some new ways to do your banking. Why were you interested in doing your banking digitally?
Well, it seemed to be convenient and fast. Also, it seemed to be cheap, no stamps, no envelopes. And the security was good because it has had two passwords, one to get into the smartphone and one to get in the account. So all of those reasons, and they all proved out, too. I find out all the time that there's new things that I can apply and play with, and it's fun and it's also interesting.
Despite battles on Capitol Hill, both the banks and tech industry agree that ultimately the consumer will be the winner. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
A lot of technology there and all kinds of generations getting involved in it. Take it one step at a time. We'll be right back with more of CBN NewsWatch. Stay with us. A rare phenomenon with the moon is happening tomorrow. The triple moon will be the first of its kind since 1982. Much of the world will get to see a blue moon, a supermoon, and a total lunar eclipse all rolled into one. It will be visible best in the western half of the U.S. and Canada early Wednesday morning. The next one won't occur until 2037. Well, that's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. Thanks again for watching us. Have a great day.